Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly. This is Grizzly True Crime, and today's case is probably going to make you quite upset, quite angry. I've been very angry as I've been down this rabbit hole. So I'm going to be sharing a presentation with you, including a timeline, some video clips, and also the probable cause affidavit. Please like and share so that others can also learn all about this case. There's a couple of lessons, of course, that we'd like to learn out of all these cases too. Thank you all for being here. Welcome to all my moderators, all my patrons, members, subscribers, any locals in chat. And by locals, we could look at Pennsylvania as well as Las Vegas, Nevada. So welcome to any locals in chat as well as any new people in chat as well, and any family or friends of the victim in this case, which we're going to discuss now. Kerry Weber, thanks for being a member for 1 month. You said, hello to all my Grizzly family. I appreciate G, mods, and all of you. Oh, thank you so much. All right, so we've got a lot to work through, so let's get started with it. Okay, so here we go. Let me just move closer to my microphone, make sure you can hear me. I've got my Snark tank shirt on, which you can get at grizzlymerch.com if you also want to wear it. Okay, we also have snarky pants. Here we go. So, Jaime Rae Feden was 33 years old. She was born on April 13th of 1986, and she was from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. She graduated from Catherine Dean Tillotson School in 2006, and then she got an associate's degree as an administrative medical assistant at Ultimate Medical Academy. Maybe you guys, if you're local there, know it as UMA. She then worked at the Sheridan at Bethel Park. I believe she also worked, I don't know if that is the retirement village she worked at, because that sounds like a hotel to me, but she also worked at a retirement village. And they said friends and family describe her as resilient, kind, loving, strong-willed, and she also had a passion for medicine. She was diagnosed with Vader syndrome, a cluster of birth defects that can affect myriad physiological systems and bone and organ structure. And she was only 4 foot tall, and she weighed 75 pounds. She was a tiny, tiny lady. So hence this case, for someone, and wait till you find out all about him, for someone to take advantage of anyone, okay, is already upsetting enough, but of like such a tiny disabled lady, really, and to trick her and lure her out to Vegas under the pretense that you're going on a little vacation and you're going to look at property, you're going to buy property together, like what? Oh my goodness. So shame, man. And she was so beautiful. She was so, you could see there, she was born on April 13th of 1986, and she was murdered on September 25th of 2019. So this case is from 2019, and the reason it's back in the news now is because finally justice was served, a trial was had, a jury found this guy guilty that we're going to look at, and he was sentenced recently to life in prison. So there's that. Okay, so thankfully that's happened, but that's why it's back in the news, in case you wonder, where does this case come from, right? So Jaime was last seen on September 15th of 2019 in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. She was dating a man named John Chapman, who her friends had expressed concerns about. So I guess, as you know, we're not victim blaming. We like to learn lessons, like what can we learn from this in every case? I guess what I was thinking is if all your friends and family are really concerned about someone you're dating, if they're seeing a lot of red flags and you might not be seeing it, I think there's some credibility to that, you know, because friends and family care about you. And as much as one could be caught up in emotions or, you know, feel in love with someone, if all your friends and family are like, this guy is such a red flag, yeah, or lady or whoever, might be worth a second look, right? Could save your life. Lead Alive, thank you so much. You said, thank you for all you do, guys. Love our community. Thank you so much. And there's a South African flag, so I'm assuming you're from South Africa too. That's awesome. All right, so friends described a tumultuous on-again, off-again relationship between Jaime and John. Now, I was trying to dig to find where did they meet, how long, because they say for several years it was this on-again, off-again relationship. And I'm like, several years. So where, when? But it seems like they say, from what I've read, that John Chapman met Jaime either in high school or college, and it was, the way they worded it was like in a setting where it was for people with special educational needs. So I don't know if he needed to be there or not, or if he was really just, I don't know. To me, this guy seems like he's a potential serial killer. Wait till you hear everything about him. So who knows what he was really looking for and why he was targeting people, right? She's song 5. Welcome. Yes, and trust your gut. Shotgun Susie says, trust your gut. Yes. Now, her friends told police that there was no answer when they tried to call her after she was last seen, right? But she did respond to Facebook messages. But they did not believe that it was actually her writing the messages because it was unlike her normal way of speaking, which, oh my goodness, we see that in so many cases as well, where somebody takes over a victim's phone and starts messaging. Wow, okay, brazenly, all the friends and family, messaging them back, pretending the person is still alive, and yet they don't sound anything like them. So the friends and family often pick up something is not right here. Now listen to this. A very smart, friend confirmed to police that it was not Jaime texting back when she sent a message saying, Uncle Ralph died. And so the response was, I'm sorry to be distant right now, but the way everyone has treated me, I don't feel part of the family anymore. And some more of those messages were also like, when did Uncle Ralph die? And they're like, yesterday, right? Guess what? There was no Uncle Ralph. That friend was so smart to set that up, to be like, let me make up something to see who's on the other side. Like, am I actually talking to Jaime or not? So that friend had told the police about that. Now, the police chief said she was a very loving type of a person, and I think she was taken advantage of by someone who was a predator. Bethel Park Police Chief Timothy O'Connor told reporters, right? So I want to show you a clip of her as well, because she actually spoke to news reporters about her condition before this tragedy even happened, before this case happened, before she was murdered. Okay, now here we have John Matthew Chapman. Before we get to that, I want to show you a clip of Jaime, just so that you can get an idea of who she was and how she was. Shame, man.
Susan, we talked to Jaime Feden about her medical condition, Vader syndrome, and how specifically she was struggling with those issues, specifically people thinking that she was a little girl and then not believing her when she told them that, in fact, she was a grown woman. Back in 2006, when we talked to her, she said she had just experienced what she described as discrimination because of her appearance, and she said it was very upsetting to her.
29-year-old Jaime Feden is often mistaken for a child. She was diagnosed with a rare condition called Vader syndrome.
4 years ago, our Ralph Iannotti sat down with Jaime Feden, the Bethel Park woman allegedly kidnapped and murdered by her on-again, off-again boyfriend.
People don't believe me. They always say, here on 29.
Feden reached out to KDKA News after an incident at the Meadows Casino. She forgot her ID, and they wouldn't let her in, saying she, quote, looked too young.
In fact, I've had people come up to me on the street and say, where's your mom?
In this exclusive video, Feden walks around the fountain at Gateway Center with her male friend who accompanied her to the interview. Feden said he's the one who went with her to the casino that night. The night she said she faced discrimination because of her height.
I was singled out. And the only reason is because of my size.
Fast forward to September 25th. The on-again, off-again boyfriend, John Chapman, told police that's when he drove Jaime to Las Vegas. A passerby.
And we're going to pause there because I want to tell you the rest of the story myself. Oh my word. But shame. Can you imagine taking advantage of someone like that, luring them, lying to them, murdering them, and then just taking over their house and all this stuff? Like, what? Oh my goodness. So let's look at this creature. John Matthew Chapman. He's now 44 years old. Okay, and this crime happened in 2019, right? A Maryland man. Maryland, okay? Who was married. Oh my God. This guy was married, okay? And leading a double life at the time of Jaime's murder. So everybody was shocked, including, of course, his wife. I don't know if he has kids or not, but the wife was like, what? Friends say they saw him coming and going at Jaime's apartment after they last saw her, which was about 2 months of him like going in and out of her townhouse. And they were like, where the heck is Jaime? And he kept making up stories. So that was about September, October of 2019. This guy murdered her in Vegas. We're going to get to that. Drove back and just moved into a house. Part-time because he still had a wife in Maryland, but he actually dated other women and took them to Jaime's house on first dates and things like that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so he drove a silver gray Honda Ridgeline truck and neighbors observed him frequently taking large loads of trash from the apartment, which is why these red flags are going to be bigger and bigger as we go. Like, what on earth was he all carrying out there? Was he just throwing out Jaime's stuff, which is already bad enough? Or who knows? Who knows what he was really doing? So when the person in charge of the trust of Jaime's estate since her mother's passing gave police permission to enter Jaime's townhouse, they noticed very limited furniture and personal belongings inside. They found a cell phone in the kitchen, later identified as Jaime's phone, next to a fake CIA ID card with John Chapman's name and photo on it. And he had told girlfriends, because some of them came forward after this case, after he was arrested, after it was in the news, they're like, what? Like, I dated this guy, what is going on? And his ex-wife came forward and all of that. The thing is, they said, well, yes, he said either that he worked at a prison as like a prison guard or in security, or that he was a CIA agent. Oh my, what is like a catfish? He's like a catfish scammer. He's like pretending to do all that. Oh my goodness, a CIA man, sure. They found 3 backpacks in Jaime's home. So they find the cell phone, the CIA card, the fake one, and then they find 3 backpacks. And what's described in these backpacks, I don't know why they say one had this in and one had the other. I wonder what's in the third. I don't know. But they found one backpack had women's underwear in it, larger than Jaime's size. All kinds of bras and panties, okay? But they said the bras were definitely not Jaime's. And also, one contained duct tape and zip ties, which police described as a kill kit. I believe when he spoke to police, he also described it as a kill kit, which is why I'm saying, oh my goodness, this guy, I really wonder what all he has done in his life. Now, the timeline. So these are just bullet points, the timeline, because it's a very, obviously, big case. A whole trial happened and all that. So I'm trying to do it as concisely as possible for you so that you get the full picture, right? On September 15th of 2019, Jaime was last seen by friends and neighbors in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Between September 18th and the 22nd of 2019, John Chapman tells his wife in Maryland that he was going to Las Vegas in her truck. So this guy had the audacity to use his wife's truck to drive Jaime to Las Vegas, okay? He said he was going for a work trip after visiting his aunt and uncle in Bethel Park. Okay, these guys that always have like, I'm just going to go visit my sick grandma, or like, I'm going to go visit my auntie and my uncle, and then I'm going on a work trip and see you soon, honey, but I need your car. Wow. Okay. September 23rd of 2019, Jaime and John arrive in Las Vegas, Nevada. Jaime is excited about this trip. John has apparently told her that they're going on vacation. They're going to have so much fun, and they're also going to look at properties, and the two of them should move out there. What? So she's like super excited about this trip, and off they go. On September 25th, so they arrive on the 23rd. On September 25th of 2019, John convinces Jaime to have a BDSM themed photo shoot in the Nevada desert. Okay? Like a sadomasochistic photo shoot, okay? And so what he does is she agrees to this. She thinks, okay, well, that sounds pretty cool. Whatever, let's go do that. Random day outing. He drives her out to the Nevada desert, about 90 miles away from Las Vegas, Nevada. And what he does is he ties her hands and feet with zip ties to a signpost. Now, when she's tied up, he covers her mouth and her nose with duct tape. And then he watches her die from asphyxiation. He stands there and watches her die. Oh my goodness. Okay, so he then rips the duct tape off once he decided, okay, I think she's dead now. He rips the duct tape off, cuts off the zip ties, takes off all her clothing, and leaves. And he travels back to Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, where he then moves into a house. On October 5th of 2019, Jane Doe is found in the desert by people on a rest stop. So apparently it was a guy, and I think he said it was his son. It was a young boy. And they were just like stretching their legs. And the little boy actually found what he thought was a child's body because Jaime was so tiny. She was only 4 foot tall and 75 pounds. So they found this body and they thought it was a child's body. They phoned the police and they said, well, there's no clothing here. There's no clothing around here. I don't know what's going on, because he just left her body right next to that signpost. But there was no duct tape, no zip ties, no signs of anything of what happened, right? So on October 7th to the 13th, John then was sending Facebook messages to family and friends pretending to be her. Oh my goodness. Like, the more I dig with this case, the more I'm like, what? On November 14th of 2019, concerned friends and neighbors asked police to conduct a welfare check. Police are concerned about what they find in the home, which was a kill kit, Jaime's phone, etc., as I explained above. John Chapman calls the police and provides a false, alibi. So used to saying a false alibi. Provides false information about Jaime's whereabouts. So the probable cause affidavit didn't really go into specifics of what exactly he said, where she was, or if she was just traveling, or no, man, she's here, or she just popped out, or whatever it is. But everybody was very worried. And as I say, the friends and neighbors were seeing him, coming and going in the apartment, moving in, bringing girlfriends over, but there was no sign of Jaime. So he now takes control and calls the police and gives false information about her whereabouts. Jaime is officially reported missing by her family to Bethel Park Police on November 14th of 2019. On November 15th of 2019, John is interviewed by the police and he confesses to murdering her. Like this guy. Oh my word. He almost reminds me of that Brian Smith case that we just looked at in Alaska. That guy was South African born but moved to Alaska, and then he killed 2 people, and he's an alleged serial killer, right? Like, people think he killed more. There's at least one more victim they are working on, right? You know what I mean? So that guy, just the way that Brian Smith also just confessed, just like, I'm going to make you famous, is what Brian Smith said. Well, here, he just tells the police, oh yeah, no, I drove her out there. I actually wanted to kill her before we left. But anyway, we drove out there together, and then he told police everything. Which is so scary. Jamie Lynn says, this is horrifying. Thank you for covering these cases with facts and compassion. This is my favorite true crime channel. Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for being a member for 3 months. So then, okay, where were we? We were there. He confesses. Yes, okay. False information. Interviewed by police. He confesses to murdering her. He then calls his wife at 6 a.m, by the way, and confesses saying, I killed her because I had to. What? Now that reminds me a little bit of Troy Driver in Naomi Irion's case. Remember that guy? Just kind of writing letters to his wife and just saying, well, I had to. Just like this urge. It just happens and I just have to. But what? So he says to his wife, I killed her because I had to. Because obviously the wife saw him arrested and then on the news. John Chapman is arrested and charged with kidnapping. Murder charges were pending identification of Jane Doe's remains in the Nevada desert. On November 21st of 2019, the remains were positively identified using dental records as Jaime Feden. December 5th of 2019, John tells the media as he leaves court, I was on my medication at the time. I don't remember making that statement, which I actually have that clip for you. I'll show you quickly here.
No. You didn't tell her? Why'd you tell police you did? I was on my medication at the time. I don't remember making that statement.
So he will confess to police the way that he did, but then when the media is there and they're like, did you do it? Did you do it? He's like, nope, I was on my medication at the time. Didn't do it. I mean, he also along the way filed a motion to dismiss, through his lawyers, of course, to dismiss the charges. Once he was sentenced, he wanted a new trial now, all kinds of things. This guy has a lot of tricks up his sleeve, of course, and he thinks he's always in control, but not anymore, bro. He's going to be in prison for the rest of his life. So that's what he said on December 5th of 2019. I was on my medication at the time. I don't even remember making that statement. In March of 2020, he was charged with the murder of a vulnerable person and first-degree kidnapping of a vulnerable person. Oh, boy, this case is so upsetting. Now, on May 1st of 2020, John Chapman made his initial appearance and had his detention hearing. And on May 1st of 2024, so we jump 4 years later to this year, following an 8-day trial, a jury found John Chapman guilty of kidnapping resulting in death. On August 2nd of 2024, John Chapman was sentenced to life in prison, which was 5 days ago. I didn't see this trial anywhere televised or anything like that, but it's good to know. The trial happened and he was sentenced. Life in prison. Normally we want to hear without parole, but I think in Maryland or Pennsylvania, I think he's in Pennsylvania. I think because all the articles say he's never getting out of prison, right? So from what I can gather, he's like life in prison, not a life sentence. Like he's never getting out. So thank goodness. Now they say the defendant violated the victim's trust by luring her away from her family and friends in Pennsylvania and out into the Nevada desert where he viciously killed her. This sentence should send a clear message to others that kidnapping and killing another person will result in a substantial prison sentence. Thank you to our federal and local law enforcement partners for their hard work in bringing justice for the victim's family, said United States Attorney Jason M. Frierson for the District of Nevada. The FBI was also involved in this case. Every agency was involved, of course, also because it was a cross-state abduction at the end of the day. They said today's sentencing, 5 days ago, holds the defendant accountable for the callous and brutal murder of an innocent young woman, said Special Agent in Charge Spencer L. Evans for the FBI Las Vegas field office. We hope it will bring a sense of closure to the victim's family while affirming the FBI and our law enforcement partners' commitment to pursuing justice for those affected by violence. My goodness. It's just so intense. Now, here's a couple of red flags, and then we're going to look at some clips, then we're going to look at the probable cause affidavit. Just a few of what I can find on this guy. So, number one, he connected with women online, MySpace, Facebook, Plenty of Fish, dating sites. Now, that doesn't have to be a red flag. One has to look at it in context of what this guy's doing. You know, he's in that pond also fishing around, but mostly for, it seems like, people to target, people to marry as well, because he met his wife, the ex-wife, there. He also met his next wife after murdering Jaime. He met another lady, and we're going to see clips from her as well, and took her to Jaime's house on a first date, and they say his wife spoke to the media, so I'm only assuming, okay, whoa, then they also got married. So he was prowling around all the dating sites, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Rex Sherman, of like, okay, but how many other unsolved cases could there be connected to this guy? Because he's really a big concern. They said he was married, but living a double life, which included premeditated murder. We're not just talking about like a double life, like he was cheating a bit. His double life included premeditated murder. That's a huge red flag. He pretended to be a CIA agent and a guard working at a jail, and or depending on who he's telling the story to. He had kill kits. I would say that's a red flag. He had some kill kits. Oh my word. He collected women's underwear and kept them in plastic baggies, as his ex-wife will tell us, that she felt like she was very worried about him, and they did get divorced, right? And the point is, and that's why ex-wife, she was worried because she's like, why am I finding women's underwear? But not just like finding them in little plastic, like Ziploc type baggies. That's how he's storing these, I'm going to call them trophies. Speculatively. Okay, he also kept a picture of his victim on his phone. So he took a picture of Jaime when he had her tied up while she was dying. He took a picture and kept the picture. Again, I would call that a trophy. He premeditated kidnapping and murder. He convinced a victim to do a BDSM photoshoot, bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, sadism, masochism. Does he have other victims? Who else did he do this to? What kind of pictures did he have? Did they have any other digital evidence? Probably not, because there were no other charges, but maybe they're still looking into other cases for all we know. He used burner phones and apps, which we'll see from the probable cause affidavit, and he pretended to be his victim on social media after her death. And he also moved into the victim's home after her death. These are all massive red flags, don't you think? It's so scary. Yeah, Steel Guitar says he reminds me of Israel Keys with the kill kits. He does, right? Okay, so now what I want to do is I would like to show you some clips. Okay. So let's do this.
to see the body believed to be 33-year-old Jaime Feden, who has been missing since September. Now, Henry Linsaway, who lives out in Henderson, Nevada, says he was taking his kid and another kid out to see an antique train. Now, on their way back, they took this dirt road that goes through the desert, and they stopped to stretch their legs. That's when the boys spotted something, and that's when Henry decided to tell him, get back in the truck, and he decided to look at it himself, and that's when he found the body to his shock. At first, he thought it was a child because the body was so small. There were no clothes on the body and no clothes to be found anywhere nearby. He called the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department and got them out there. Linsaway says it was more than 90 miles away from Vegas, and on that drive back, it was a very hard-thought and long drive for them.
It was a long drive home to think about what could have happened, what you don't want to think happened, and then you start thinking about the family.
Now, he says this is a desolate area, and it's possible if he hadn't stumbled upon this body, the body could still be out there. You'll hear a lot more from him and co-workers of Feden who worked here at the Sheridan Retirement Home in Bethel Park coming up.
Sheridan Retirement Home. Okay, because I heard Sheridan and I heard Retirement Home. As I said earlier, I don't know if those two are the same thing. It seems so.
At 10 and 11 tonight. We're live this evening. Chris Hoffman, Katie.
All right, so that was the guy that you saw here earlier, that him, and I think his son was with him, because that's what I'd read in my research, found her body, which was in October. Okay, now let's see this clip over here. Ooh, this is going to be the ex-wife, all right? Just want to see. Yeah, I want to see it from the beginning. I'm actually just going to boost it for us.
Married to an alleged confessed killer.
And I tried to tell her that he was bad news.
The man now at the center of this woman's disappearance.
She was the sweetest girl.
Only on 11.
He is a manipulator. He's a liar.
John Chapman's ex-wife opens up.
She had something on him that he didn't want to get out.
About a man
That could have been me.
she calls evil.
Death would be too good for him.
Well,
Okay, so now we're going to hear from his ex-wife, okay? Mark Benson said Russell Williams, Chris Watts, and Israel Keys all wrapped into one killer. I know, right? I mean, what a scary guy.
some strong words from the ex-wife of John Chapman.
Kelly Murray was married to him for 7 years, and after hearing the news on Friday that he was connected to the disappearance of Jaime Feden and possibly, according to him, even her death, she was sick to her stomach.
Yeah, Channel 11's Amy Hudak joins us live now. And Amy, what are the biggest things you took away from this conversation?
This is the first local woman we've talked to who is married to John Chapman. She says he was a master manipulator, dated women even when he was married, and his strange behaviors raised some serious red flags.
The question should be, has he done this before?
Kelly Murray and John Chapman got married in 2010. They met on MySpace. He wooed her, and a year later they tied the knot in Vegas.
We went to the stained glass wedding chapel.
But the honeymoon phase...
To me, like, it could just be that he likes Vegas, like many people might, right? I'm just saying, like, if he met this lady, his ex-wife, on MySpace and wooed her, which means love bombed, okay, red flag, and then they rushed there to Vegas and got married, oh my. Like, and then if you think of him later taking Jamie to Vegas and murdering her, like, what all did he get up to in Vegas? That is where I would want to start looking at some unsolved crimes, don't you think? I mean, wherever he traveled. I wonder what his real work actually was. I wish I knew a whole lot more about him. Let's call this layer one of this case, because, oh my goodness, I think with this guy, it's quite the rabbit hole, right?
Didn't last long.
He tried saying that he worked for the government, and that he was either FBI, CIA, or NSA, and that he was in the Navy.
Even though Chapman was married, he dated other women.
He is a manipulator. He's a liar.
This appears to be his profile on Plenty of Fish.
I love watching movies and taking road trips. And it says diamond in the rough.
And then there was something Murray found.
I found plastic Ziploc baggies with female underwear, but they were individually bagged with names.
How many would you say you saw?
About...
Okay then. Underwear in individual baggies with names. I don't know if anything says trophy more than that. That's very strange, right? Very, very strange. Linda, welcome. And Laura said, as someone said above, she's lucky to be alive. She maybe had too many loved ones or close friends for him to try anything. Sure, it's so scary.
5 to 10.
Before the two divorced, the Chapmans stayed in Pittsburgh with Jaime Feden. But Kelly Chapman wasn't John's wife. She had to pretend she was John's sister.
He conned her into giving her almost every penny she had.
After Chapman's alleged murder confession, Murray's asking why.
Why? Why her? Did she know something that he didn't want anybody else knowing? That's what I think. She had something on him that he didn't want to get out.
And
what's his fascination with Vegas?
Yeah, what's his fascination with Vegas? Okay, so there's that clip. I'm going to bring up another one in a moment here. When his ex-wife says that, why her? Maybe she had something on him. Maybe she knew something. I think he needed a second, home base. I think he wanted a home because he told police he did it for financial reasons. That's why he said he killed Jaime, was for financial reasons. So to have a home and use her money and use her home to lure other women there. That is so scary. You know, if he knew he could not commit crimes at home where his wife was, get another home. That is, I don't know. That's what I think. I don't know if Jaime had something on him. It could be a theory. My theory would be, oh crap. He wanted to just take over someone's life and house and pretend to be them for a while, which is so scary as well. Okay, now let's look at this one. Now this one says John Chapman's wife recalls eerie phone call and text after his arrest. So who we just heard from right now was his ex-wife. Okay? Then they got divorced. He dated other women. There was Jaime as well in between, on-off relationship for many years. They say several years. And now this is they say John Chapman's wife. So this is a different lady. Okay? So let's have a look at this one.
The current wife of John Chapman, the man who's been charged in the death of Jaime Feden, shares her story of survival.
Maureen Chapman spoke only to our Amy Hudak just days after her current and soon-to-be ex-husband was charged in Chapman's murder. And Amy, it sounds like Maureen is learning a lot about Chapman's alleged lies.
She is. Maureen says everything was a lie. The only thing she thinks is safe to believe right now is his murder confession.
He said, "Hun, I murdered a woman because I had to."
Maureen Chapman says her world stopped when she got a 6 a.m. phone call from her husband, John Chapman. He had just been booked in jail and was being questioned for the kidnapping and murder of Bethel Park woman Jaime Feden.
What happens if she doesn't?
Maureen reads the eerie last text messages her husband sent her.
They're going to rule it like I kidnapped her and did something to her.
Police say John Chapman confessed to taking Feden to the Nevada desert, tying her to a signpost and watching her suffocate.
Why would he take someone's life?
Investigators say a picture of Feden tied up in the desert was found on John Chapman's cell phone.
A picture is a trophy. I don't see it any other way.
Maureen says she's now haunted by the man she trusted her life with.
Jamie's not the only one that was asked to go to Vegas recently. I was asked to go to Vegas. His recent girlfriend.
Every day.
What? You hear that? So that's why his ex-wife says, what's his fascination with Vegas? He'd asked Jaime to go to Vegas, and he'd apparently asked his wife to go to Vegas and other women to go to Vegas. So it sounds like he has some very sinister plans there.
She says another one of her husband's lies unravels, like his job at the CIA and their first date after meeting online. John Chapman took her to a townhome where they had pizza and watched movies. Turns out it wasn't his home, it was Jaime Feden's.
And to think how many other women had gone to Jamie's apartment, and then knowing how many women went afterwards. His confession is probably the only thing I do believe.
Maureen said,
so don't you guys find it scary and a red flag that he was taking other women to Jamie's house after he murdered her on dates? They had pizza, they're watching movies at the house. That's very disturbing for all those people that went on dates with him at Jamie's house, in hindsight, right? But then when the police go in there, they find limited furniture, okay, and they find these backpacks with women's underwear in it. Not in baggies. They didn't talk about baggies with names on in the backpacks, but that in itself is very scary to think what he may have done there. And also the neighbors seeing him carrying out large loads of trash in the 2 or so months that he lived there before he was arrested. I mean, he only lived there for about 2 months, but that is incredibly scary.
Says she's taking it one day at a time, knowing she may never know just how many victims exist.
You know, I wasn't the true victim here. Jaime was. And there's lots of other victims in this. I'm not by myself.
Maureen also doesn't have a car right now. Her truck is a part of evidence that could be used in the murder trial because that's what John took to Nevada.
Took that wife's truck to Nevada with Jaime. Okay, so now we've got, they say Bethel Park police and neighbors weigh in on Jaime Feden murder. So let's have a look at this clip as well.
Justice are turning for Jaime Feden. Officials in Nevada identified her remains in the desert about 80 miles outside Las Vegas. The county sheriff there identified the woman from Bethel Park using her dental records.
Now, so what is next for the man who confessed to taking her to the desert and killing her? Amy Wattis talked to Bethel Park police for the latest information. Amy.
Well, first I talked to Jaime Feden's aunt off camera today. She didn't say a whole lot, but she says her family is still trying to wrap their heads around everything that's happened.
I think she's very small, very gentle, and you can see how she could be taken advantage of.
And taken advantage of may be what happened to Jaime Feden. At just 75 pounds and 4 foot 1 inches tall, she had Vader syndrome, a rare disorder that causes several birth defects.
We are relieved to know that they were able to make a match, that hopefully this can lead to charges against Mr. Chapman. He can be brought to justice, and also that the family has some closure now.
Right now, 39-year-old John Chapman has been charged in Allegheny County with kidnapping and other charges for Feden's disappearance back in September. In order to determine whether or not homicide charges will be filed, the Lincoln County Sheriff in Nevada said he will have to send some of his deputies to Pennsylvania to gather evidence and do any interviews they need to do.
Those officers will come back to Nevada. They will compile that report, submit it to the district attorney for charges, and then the district attorney's responsibility would then be to actually officially file charges and get an arrest warrant for the suspect, and we'd have to extradite him back to Nevada.
As we know, that already happened, right? So he's already been sentenced now. I'm showing you some clips from the past in this case.
Meantime, Feden's neighbors are saddened to hear that she's gone.
That's just really sad that would happen to somebody like her, you know, to be taken advantage of like she was.
I was always trying to hold out hope that that whatever was found out there, they would not be her, and we would be able to bring her home safely, but sadly that was not the case.
Now, Jaime Feden's family is asking for privacy at this time. Now, the Lincoln County Sheriff told me today, as for the cause of Jaime Feden's death, that is still undetermined. He said,
we know the details now, unfortunately, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, so we've just got a few more clips, then I'm going to show you the probable cause affidavit.
Her friend and former co-worker, Justina Paterno, is trying to comprehend it all.
I still am in shock. Like, she didn't deserve any of this. Like, I still think that she's going to come in and be like, hey guys, I'm here. And it's like, she's not going to show up again.
The two worked together at the Sheridan at Bethel Park Senior Living Home until this past summer. Months went by and no one had heard from Jaime until they heard about what happened on the news.
My best friend said that everybody in the break room just started crying. Everybody was sick. Like, it was like everybody fell silent. You could hear a pin drop in the kitchen.
Channel 11 has been bringing you daily updates on this story since last week. Jaime's boyfriend, John Chapman, allegedly admitted to investigators that he took Jaime to a Nevada desert, tied her up, and suffocated her.
I actually have nightmares about it. And I would wake up at 3 a.m. and be like, what the heck's going on? Like, what could we have done to step in and help her?
Now, all she can do is mourn the loss of her friend.
I just go day by day thinking about her all the time. Like, she's in my heart, she's in the back of my head.
Shame. Okay, 2 more clips.
It's beyond shocking. It's heart-wrenching. It's nauseating.
The details in the federal charges against John Chapman are disturbing, from a backpack full of zip ties and duct tape to a kill kit. According to the federal complaint, last September, Chapman planned to kill his girlfriend, Jaime Feden, before they left her Bethel Park home. She thought they were going to Las Vegas to buy a home. Chapman told police he convinced Feden they were going to the Nevada desert for a photo shoot. Federal officials say Chapman confessed to watching Feden die from asphyxiation after tying her to a signpost.
I can't even imagine what her last thoughts might have been. The fact that someone can sit there and watch as this happens, it's awful. It's pitiful.
After Feden died, court documents say Chapman tossed her clothes out on his drive back to Bethel Park from Nevada. And Chapman didn't stop there. Federal officials say he used Feden's townhome as his own after her death, bringing another woman there. He even told one girlfriend he worked as a guard at the Allegheny County Jail. They found a woman's backpack inside Feden's townhome containing women's bras and underwear and another backpack full of zip ties.
I think it's criminal. It's just a shame. It makes me utterly sick. Gives me the chills every time I think of it. Every time I look at her house and know she's never coming back.
He is a piece of dirt. Yes, he's a monster. He's a complete monster. He needs to suffer.
And Jaime Feden's uncle tells me that a detective called him today telling him about the new charges. He says the family is still reeling and John Chapman will appear.
Okay, so we've gone over all of that. Spicy Little Penguin said, man, he had no shame to admit to watching her die. I see a lot of people are asking how long was she out in the desert before her body was found. So we went over the timeline at the beginning of this live stream. So I'm going to make sure there's timestamps and everything for you. But as the timeline goes, on September 25th is when John Chapman zip-tied Jaime to a signpost, and then he put duct tape over her mouth and watched her die. That was on the 25th, and her body was discovered on October 5th. Okay, so it's longish in that heat, but it's not all that long. It's like, what, 10 days or so. So yes, okay, so we've looked at that. Now what I want to show you is, of course, the probable cause affidavit, and I tried to summarize it, but I don't want to leave anything out because it's just so shocking. So I want to read this to you. It's not long at all. The whole thing is 8 pages. We're already starting on page 3, okay? So we're going to go from there because it's just unbelievable what this guy does. Oh my goodness. Please like and share if you also want others to learn about Jaime's case. So facts establishing probable cause. Let me just quickly see this page 3. Just want to see, it says United States of America plaintiff versus John Matthew Chapman defendant. I didn't find any previous criminal records or things like that. I see someone was asking as well. I'm not too sure. It's almost like one of those guys, you know, when it's like no previous criminal records and all of that. But now look. Oh my goodness, that's scary. So, okay, facts establishing probable cause. On November 14th of 2019 at approximately 6:49 p.m. Now, some of these names are obviously initials, right? Witnesses they spoke to. They said DF called the Bethel Park Police Department in Pennsylvania to request officers check the welfare of her friend JF. So JF is obviously Jaime. At Jaime's residence. Officers responded to Jaime's residence and met with DF and Jaime's cousin, KH. Jaime's neighbors had been concerned because they had not physically seen her in a few months. DF and KH were concerned because they had also not spoken to Jaime in a few months. DF and KH said that Jaime had become distant and both expressed concerns about her boyfriend, John Chapman. KH told a responding officer, Officer Weister, that Jaime had not answered her calls to her cell phone, which she gave as, and there's a number. However, she stated that Jaime did respond via Facebook Messenger from Jaime's known Facebook account, which is still up there, by the way. That Facebook account is still out there. So not answering calls, not answering texts, but okay, answering Facebook messages. The friends were like, what is going on here? So then they said, KH told Officer Weister that she did not believe that the person responding to KH on Facebook Messenger was in fact Jaime because the communication she received was unlike Jaime's normal way of speaking. Officers spoke with Jaime's neighbor, AK, who stated that she had not seen Jaime in approximately 2 months, which was not typical. In addition, AK had not seen Jamie's access van, which she utilized due to her medical conditions. So I wonder where that was. Neighbors CS and AK told officers that they had, however, seen Jamie's boyfriend, John Chapman, coming and going from the apartment as recent as the previous day, November 13th of 2019. They described the truck that Chapman was driving as a silver gray Honda Ridgeline truck. Jamie's neighbors also stated that they had observed Chapman frequently taking large loads of trash from the apartment. KH told Officer Weister that KH's father, KL, was placed in charge of Jamie's trust after the death of Jamie's mother. It was the trust, managed by KL, who also owned Jamie's residence. Officer Weister then contacted KL via telephone and requested permission to enter the residence by force in order to check the welfare of Jamie. KL granted Bethel Park Police permission to use force to enter the residence. KL also advised that Jamie was the only authorized resident and that no one else should be in the residence. And there that guy was, taking people on dates. Once in Jamie's apartment, officers noted limited furniture and personal belongings. They located a cellular phone in the kitchen next to a fake CIA identification credential with John Chapman's name and picture. While looking for identification for Jamie, officers observed 3 backpacks. One contained women's underwear and bras that were sizes larger than Jamie's 4'1", 75 pounds frame, and another contained multiple zip ties and a roll of duct tape. So is it just me as well? The way I read it is that there were possibly 2 backpacks with underwear in. Maybe one was for bra, one was for underwear, and the other one was like a kill kit, as they called it, which was duct tape and zip ties. Jamie Ferreira says, do you know how long they were together? From what I've read, I've tried to dig with that. They met sometime either at the end of high school or in college, and they'd known each other for a long time and were on again, off again, dating, right? Boyfriend, girlfriend is how friends describe it. So these backpacks, I mean, there's limited furniture. There's a cell phone in the kitchen that's like, oh, okay, and that's Jamie's phone, it turns out to be. A fake CIA card, and including a kill kit. Oh my goodness, okay. DF and KH continued to call Jamie's phone after officers went inside, and was determined after looking at the screen of the cell phone located in the kitchen that the phone belonged to Jamie. KH relayed to the officers that she was communicating with Jamie's Facebook Messenger and received a message that Jamie got a new number of, and there was this new number. While with Officer Weister of the Bethel Park Police Department, DF decided to send a text message to this new phone number about the death of a fictitious family member to see if she was really talking with Jamie. DF sent a text message stating, "Call me, Uncle Ralph died." The person texting from that number replied, "I'm sorry, when did he die?" DF replied, "Yesterday. Graham's been calling you. I know you really liked him." The person texting from that number replied, "I'm sorry to be distant, but the way everyone has treated me, I don't feel like part of the family anymore." DF confirmed to law enforcement that Uncle Ralph did not exist. I still think that friend was so smart, on my word. Setting them up like that, just being like, "Oh man, Grammy's been trying to call you. Uncle Ralph died. I know you liked him so much." And then the person, which would be John Chapman, pretending to be Jamie, they fell for it. Okay, so Bethel Park Police Detective Wright conducted a search of this new number and found that it belonged to Ad Hoc Labs, which is the facilitator of the mobile application Burner. The Burner application masks the originating cellular number during communication. Information provided by Ad Hoc Labs Incorporated revealed that that number was masking the originating number of, which was identified by DF as belonging to John Chapman. Oh my word, this guy. Okay, on November 14th of 2019, Detective Marks was with DF and KH at the police station when DF began receiving messages from this new number. The messages from the individual posing as Jamie expressed anger that the police went to Chapman's mother's house and told DF that she had crossed a line. Oh, now he's even pretending to be Jamie and saying, "You shouldn't have gone to John's mother's house." Okay, losing his cool there, but Chapman then called DF, so John Chapman then called DF from number, stating that he was going to file harassment charges on her because the police were now calling him. Chapman then stated that DF better back off because he knows how to get heroin and he would plant it on her farm and she would lose her kids. See, I don't want to miss all those details. This guy is literally saying, if you continue to talk to the police, They're now calling me. This is harassment. I will plant drugs on your farm and you will lose access to your children. Like, whoa. An innocent man behaving like that, right? Okay, so Chapman then hung up with DF and called the Bethel Park Police Department from that number. So he's like really trying to control the whole thing now. Now he's calling the police. Bethel Park Police Department Communication Officer Johnson answered the phone. Chapman told CO Johnson that he last saw Jamie at her house earlier that day. Like, this guy says he last saw her earlier that day before Chapman drove to Maryland. Chapman said that he had been in communication with Jamie using Facebook Messenger and Jamie's cell phone. Chapman said that he urged Jamie to call her family. Sure he did. Chapman then stated that he would go to Jamie's house and bring her to the Bethel Park Police Department so everyone would see that she's okay. CO Johnson asked Chapman to have JF call the police station now and then come in with him later. Chapman agreed and hung up the phone. Chapman made additional phone calls to the Bethel Park Police Department from this other number and spoke to CO Johnson on November 15th of 2019. CO Johnson asked specific questions as to the whereabouts of Jamie and Chapman. On multiple occasions, Chapman gave CO Johnson false and conflicting information as to the location and status of Jamie. On November 15th of 2019, Chapman was arrested for Pennsylvania Crime Code 1875128, criminal use of communication facility felony 3, and Pennsylvania Crime Code obstructing administration of law or other government functions misdemeanor. Chapman, or misdemeanor 2. Chapman was brought back to the Bethel Park Police Department and interviewed by Detective Wright and Detective Marks. Chapman was read his Miranda warnings, which he signed acknowledging his understanding. The interview with police was recorded. During the interview, the following disclosures were made by Chapman. At some point in mid-September of 2019, now this is what he's telling police, okay? He's just loud and proud, just saying it like, oh, okay, let me tell you how it happened. What? Okay, at some point in mid-September of 2019, and we've looked at a detailed timeline of that, Chapman drove JF Jamie from her residence in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania to Las Vegas, Nevada. Chapman misled Jamie to believe the purpose of the trip was a vacation with the potential of acquiring a residence in Las Vegas. However, Chapman had a plan to kill Jamie before they left Pennsylvania, and he had a kill kit ready before their departure to Nevada. That's what he's telling police. Oh my word. Okay, then. Chapman drove Jamie from the state of Pennsylvania to the state of Nevada. Chapman and Jamie arrived in the Las Vegas, Nevada area on about September 23rd, 2019. On or about September 25th of 2019, Chapman convinced Jamie to drive into the desert under the pretext of participating in an S&M sadomasochistic bondage-themed photo shoot. At the location in the desert in Lincoln County, Nevada, where they ultimately stopped, Chapman stated that he bound Jamie's hands and feet with plastic zip ties and affixed her to a signpost. He then applied duct tape to her mouth and then her nose until such time as she was unable to breathe. He then watched Jamie die from asphyxiation and took a picture, by the way. When he believed she was dead, Chapman took her down from the signpost. He removed the tape from Jamie's mouth, the zip ties from her hands and feet, and then took off the clothing from her body. Chapman left Jamie's naked body next to the signpost and traveled from Nevada back to Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, discarding Jamie's clothing at various locations on the route back. Chapman admitted that he killed Jamie for her money. That's what he said. He killed her for her money and to use her home. So, following these admissions, the Allegheny County Police Detective Fitzgerald contacted the Clark County, Nevada Coroner's Office to inquire about any open or unidentified deaths in their jurisdiction. Per the Clark County Coroner's Office, which also covers the Lincoln County, Nevada, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office reported that it had located a Jane Doe decedent on October 5th of 2019. The decedent fit many of the unique physical characteristics of Jamie and was later positively identified as Jamie via dental records by the Clark County, Nevada Coroner's Office. On November 20th of 2019, Detective Dixon obtained a signed search warrant from the Honorable Judge Cashman of the Allegheny County Court for Chapman's cell phone. Allegheny County, I hope I'm saying that right, Police Mobile Device or Computer Forensic Unit Examiner Rosenberg conducted the search on Chapman's phone. In the photo application of the phone and under the deleted section, These guys, and they deleted things. There were photographs of Jaime with date and time data. The specific dates and times were September 24th of 2019 at 5:39 p.m., a photograph of Jaime under a Vegas sign, and then on September 25th at 9:39 a.m., a photograph of Jaime bound in the desert with duct tape on her mouth and zip ties securing her body to the signpost where her body was found. That is so disturbing. Follow-up investigation revealed that Chapman had continuously used Jaime's residence following her death and passed it off as his own. Bethel Park detective Frank Marks was contacted on November 22nd of 2019 by Chapman's girlfriend, who had learnt of the investigation from the media. His girlfriend explained for their second date on September 28th of 2019. Guys, September 28th, that's 3 days later after the murder. Chapman picked her up and brought her back to Jaime's residence. Chapman told her that the residence belonged to his uncle, who recently passed away. Chapman also told her that he was employed as an Allegheny County jail guard. The two continued to date until Chapman's arrest. So we've got here kidnapping resulting in death, and that is what he was sentenced for, life in prison. So initially they said the kidnapping and murder of a disabled person, and I don't know, over time it became this charge of kidnapping resulting in death. He was found guilty by a jury just recently after an 8-day trial, and he was sentenced just 5 days ago to life in prison. So is that not like such a scary case? I mean, this poor lady, oh my goodness, for someone like what? I can't even snark enough about this guy. Like, what an absolute low-life POS, spineless maggot. I don't know, a maggot is spineless, but a spineless creature scum to actually take advantage of this tiny little lady. Taking advantage of anyone is horrendous. But like, she was a disabled, tiny little 4'1" lady and just all excited for a trip to Vegas and being like, ooh, okay, you want me to pose for like a photo shoot? And he's like, yeah, gotta tie you up. All just so that he could just take her stuff. Just take her money, take her house. That's it. Oh my goodness. That is so scary. And all the other women he had met online, the ones that the ex-wife, I don't know if it's his current wife now. I'm sure she divorced him, right? Send me information if you have any more information on him. But the two wives that we know of, other girlfriends that he had, I mean, most of them he met on dating apps. But Jaime, he apparently met either in high school or at college. So to do that as well, again, to do it to anyone is horrendous. But why? Like, this guy, oh my goodness. And I really think it's because, my personal opinion is because he wanted to use her home. It was like almost like a second home to him. People knew him as her boyfriend, people in her circle of friends. And so I think he just wanted to use her home to continue doing whatever it is he was doing by collecting those bras and underwear and then putting them in little baggies with names on, right? Yes. So sending condolences and so much love to Jaime's family and friends. This must have been so tough. And they were so concerned because they're like, where the heck is Jaime? What happened? Where'd she go? And then to find out that this is what happened, and it's so cruel what he did, and so humiliating, it's just terrible, right? Yeah, Johnny said, need special team of corrections officers for this guy. Yes. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here with me as we go through the details of this horrifying case. I will make sure to link all my sources for you. I'm going to post that probable cause affidavit now on my Patreon post as well. If you haven't checked out Patreon yet, come over and check it out. And thank you, Gumshoe Lolly. You said so many red flags. If you see something, say something. Absolutely. So I'm not blaming the first wife, the ex-wife, for it. We learn from these cases, right? If you see your husband, your brother, a loved one, assist anyone, collecting underwear in little Ziploc baggies, and as an example, because there could be many things, right? Doing something really sus. Maybe report it just in case, because you never know. And we still actually don't know what this guy may have gotten up to. I just can't imagine that this is the only murder that he's ever committed. I haven't heard anything else about any other charges, but like, he is so scary. The things that he did, it's so horrifying that I worry about other unsolved cases. And I'm glad the FBI was on this case as well, and many, obviously, police departments from Pennsylvania, from Nevada, from Maryland. So hopefully they can all work together. And if there are any other cases to solve, hopefully that can be solved, right? Thank you to everyone who supported the channel today. Members will have a member stream again soon. I know time flies, we're almost at the end of the week again. Like what? We're already like midweek. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, mods. Really appreciate it. Let me just quickly see if I missed any. I just want to see if I missed any messages quickly. Alicia A said, are there special charges for murdering a disabled person? There was initially. They did have a special charge, but it just changed to kidnapping resulting in death later. And also Denny Dawn said that's why you can't find it. It was a federal case. They usually are not televised. True that as well, Denny Dawn. And Spicy Little Penguin said, we keep hearing about large loads of garbage being taken out by him. What could he been getting rid of? So he could have been getting rid of her furniture, getting rid of her clothes, getting rid of all her personal items, right? It could be that, or it could be much worse than that. Or a combination of those things, right? Okay, everyone, leave your comments below. I look forward to reading them. And thank you so much for being here. I'll see you all again very soon. Stay safe.